I have a message. I have a message for President Macron. Today, Israel is defending itself on 7 fronts against the enemy.
So did ISIS form out of the Mujahideen? Is that what Hasan is talking about? No. Yes and no.
Of civilization. We're fighting in Gaza against Hamas, those savages who murdered, raped, beheaded, and burned our people on October 7th. We're fighting in Lebanon against Hezbollah, the most heavily armed terror organization in the world, which was planning and even...
Why does he have a message for the French in English? Like, why is there no one translating this message to French for the Israeli Prime Minister's office? Do they not have any French translators in Israel? There are plenty of French Israelis that speak French. You know, what's going on there? What's happening? I hate to be that guy, but I think you forgot to run the ads. Never hate to be that guy. You are correct. I did forget to run the ads. I'm running it now.
Even greater massacre than October 7th on our northern border, and that is rocketed Israeli towns and cities for nearly a year.
Wait, Hezbollah has done an even greater massacre than Hamas did? That's crazy. How many people did they kill? That's wild. I didn't realize they killed 1,200 people, including like 400 military members of the military.
We're fighting against...
apparently they're planning. They were planning it. Yeah, well, so was Hamas, and you didn't really give it about that planning, did you?
Houthis in Yemen and the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that together have launched hundreds of drones and missile attacks against Israel. We're fighting against terrorists in Judea and Samaria who are trying to murder civilians in the heart of our cities.
That's the West Bank. He's saying we're fighting in the West Bank, territory that we illegally occupy, against people who are like, hey man, this is my home. Maybe you shouldn't do that.
And we're fighting against Iran, which last week fired over 200 ballistic missiles directly at Israel, and which stands behind the 7-front war against Israel. As Israel fights the forces of barbarism led by Iran, all civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them. Is Iran imposing an arms embargo on Hezbollah, on the Houthis, on Hamas, and on its other proxies? Of course not. The axis of terror stands together. But countries who supposedly...
It's so funny. It's so funny when these say the axis of terror stands together. It's like, bro, for everyone with eyes to see, you and America and all of the regional partners are the real axis of terror. Okay? The numbers on the board, these guys don't touch the madness that you conduct in the region, like the and the destruction that you engage with in the region. It is so funny to be like, these guys, they are terrorists, they're doing terror. It's like, okay, what are you doing then? Like, is there a different term for what you're doing? Because what you're doing is worse, like significantly worse in terms of the numbers. I don't give a if there's like, in his mind, if there is justification for it, that doesn't mean anything. Do you understand? Like, people are so ridiculous about this. They're like, oh, Hasan, you don't understand. Israel good, Israel's enemies bad. Duh. Oh, okay. Didn't realize that was the way that you were operating, you know? It's like the Nazis on the Japanese. No, man, it's not like the Nazis on the Japanese. It's like the Nazis on the Allied forces, okay? Because he's the Nazi here. Straight up.
Oppose this terror axis, call for an arms embargo on Israel. What a disgrace. Well, let me tell you this. Israel will win with or without their support. But their shame will continue long after the war is won. For in defending ourselves against this barbarism, Israel is defending civilizations against those who seek to impose a dark age of fanaticism on...
Like, he just keeps saying that we're fighting against barbarism. We're fighting against these barbarians. Like, oh my God. It's just like, it's truly demonic Nazi. I don't know. I don't know how people still don't see it. Like,
on all of us. Rest assured, Israel will fight until the battle is won, for our sake and for the sake of the peace and security of the entire world.
Israel has expanded its bombardment of Lebanon, striking new areas.
Oh yeah, now they went even northern than Beirut. They're like, yeah, we're bombing the capital, but we're also going to bomb even further up north as well.
It targets members of both Hezbollah and Hamas. While Hezbollah has kept up its attacks on northern Israel, saying it's fired rockets at an airbase near the city of Haifa. In southern Lebanon, the Israel Defense Forces say they hit a Hezbollah command center overnight, located in a mosque adjacent to the Salah Gundur hospital. For the first time in this conflict, Israel has hit Tripoli in northern.
Like, look, dude, what are we doing? What are we doing, bro? What are we doing? Yeah. Striking a mosque, striking a hospital. They struck an orphanage and a hospital at the same time in Gaza, by the way, which, by the way, is such a normal part of the process at this point that, like, it's not even newsworthy.
Northern Lebanon, reportedly killing an official from Hamas's military wing, his wife and 2 young daughters in a drone strike. And Israel has continued to strike the Lebanese capital here, Beirut. Its military issued warnings for residents in 3 southern suburbs near the airport to evacuate buildings around Hezbollah facilities. Alex Thompson reports on the day's events.
The Gaza.
They're still doing this, by the way. They're still doing propaganda. They're like, oh, it's the Hezbollah facilities. Hezbollah facilities. Oh, dude. Oh, well, sorry. The hospital was in the way. You know, great stuff.
There's a strategy in Lebanon. From air and sea, Beirut pounded again overnight. By day, civilian jets still fly in and out against the bombing of the city's southern suburbs. Israel talks about pinpoint strikes. The Lebanese Health Ministry says more than 2,000 people have been killed so far across the country, including 127.
Yeah, they're double tapping healthcare workers. Healthcare continues to come under attack. In Lebanon alone, 28 health workers have been killed in the last 24 hours, says World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus during a press briefing in Geneva on Wednesday.
More than 1,600 people have been killed and more than 1 million.
Bro, okay, October 7 numbers. We've passed it. We passed it. We passed October 7 numbers. Hezbollah, by Israel's own design, has the right to defend itself. Okay. Significantly larger civilian, by the way, in comparison to October 7. October 7, 400 military were killed. 800 civilians were killed, some of which were killed by Israeli, Israeli security forces anyway. But regardless, let's say all 800 are killed by Hamas and the Palestinian Resistance Force. Israel's done genocide in Gaza. Does this mean that Hezbollah and the Lebanese forces have a right to defend themselves? Do they have a right to defend themselves? Can they now do genocide in Israel? Of course not. Of course not. I don't think that is right anyway. I'm not saying that at all. But just understand, if, like, you know, there was if the morality was evened out, that is how this situation would be analyzed.
Displaced, including 350,000 now living in shelters and 160,000 who have crossed the border into the Syrian Arab Republic. Healthcare continues to come under attack. In Lebanon alone, 28 health workers have been killed.
It's so funny that people still, like, grab on to the only counter to all of this, like the glaringly obvious realities. The only counter to any of this is to basically just go, la la la, can't hear you. Hasan supports terrorists. That's it. Like, you have no answer for this. You have no way of being able to justify this. So you just go, nah, they're terrorists. They're barbaric. They're terrorists. Like, you just repeat what Benjamin Netanyahu is saying, and that's it.
In the last 24 hours, many health workers are not reporting to duty as they fled the areas where they work due to bombardments. This is severely limiting the provision of mass trauma management and continuity of health services. We had planned to deliver a large shipment of trauma and medical supplies tomorrow to Lebanon. Unfortunately, this has not been possible due to the almost complete closure of Beirut's airport. WHO calls on all partners to facilitate flights to deliver much-needed life-saving supplies to Lebanon.
Why are we supporting Israel? What do you mean? I'm not supporting Israel. Israel can suck my... Has anyone ever asked any of the State Department Press Secretary ghouls to define the word terrorist? I mean, I'm sure there's a way that they can dance around it. It doesn't matter. They literally dance around all the destruction that they fund and facilitate on a daily fucking basis. They don't give it... They literally are operating on the same boundaries that Israel's operating on, which is that these are the bad guys, Israel's the good guys. It's that simple.
Children 261 women.
Hamas because the elected president of World Health Organization Executive Board is a Qatari woman. Oh, nice. Qatar elected as president of World Health Organization Executive Board. Hanan Mohammed Al-Kuwari. Well, there you go. You can't trust them. Arabs are of one mind, famously, according to famous Israeli scholar Benny Morris.
4 major hospitals and 32 medical centers in Beirut and across the country completely out of service now due to Israeli strikes. Israel claims Hezbollah fighters were using them for positions. Overnight, Israel claimed to have killed a Hamas commander, Saeed Atallah, his wife and 2 daughters in the coastal city of Tripoli in northern Lebanon. Defiance against Israel on the ground.
We say that this resistance will continue. This is the path for martyrs. This is an enemy who commits criminal acts against our people.
His death independently confirmed this afternoon. And then, of course, the funeral, the full guard of honor, along with the 2 children. All this as Hezbollah fired rockets towards the northern Israeli port of Haifa. Also in northern Israel, wildfires started by incoming Hezbollah fire. Global diplomacy apparently incapable of stopping Iran and Israel's march towards the war neither wants.
Iran has been on a charm offensive too in the region. Straight up, like the Iranian president after the Israeli, after the retaliation on Israel, that Israel claims hit no targets, even though they very obviously did. Iran went to all of the Gulf region, like Abraham Accords recipient nation states, and was like, listen, you don't want the smoke. And they were like, yeah, you're right. We don't actually want the smoke. As a matter of fact, we'll see ourselves out of this equation. Now, I don't know how far you can, I don't know how you can trust that. Yes, it is Bashar al-Assad. Chat. Something you need to understand is this. When I say, oh, these regional actors don't want the smoke, I don't mean that like Iran's military might and capabilities is like the same as America. Okay? What I mean is they have oil refineries that are directly within the line of fire of Iranian missile systems. It's that simple. Think about it like mutually assured destruction, but this time for oil. Okay? That's it. It's literally that simple. They're like, look, China brought Iran and Saudi Arabia to the table over the UAE and Saudi Arabia's conduct that led to a genocide in Yemen. Okay? Why did China do this? Because they need the oil as well. Why did Saudi Arabia come to the table? Because they also like their oil refineries. Okay? If Iran strikes, or if the Houthis or Iran strikes oil refineries in Saudi Arabia, that's not good for anybody. Okay? And that is something that happened before October 7, mind you. Okay? It's a massive amount of leverage that Iran has as a regional actor. So for them, they're like, okay, yeah, we have a security cooperation with the United States of America. We use their weapons, but also we don't want you blowing up our oil refineries. Because if you blow up our oil refineries, then, our economy is cooked and the entire global marketplace falls apart. This is a reality that I'm sure Americans are also aware of. There's no way that they're that stupid, okay?
Foreign Minister in Syria today after Lebanon yesterday, touring countries on the receiving end of Israeli missiles. His own braced now for Israel's response to this week's salvo of Iranian ballistic missiles. Both sides ban independent media from the fighting zone, but all the while on the ground, Israel's, quote, limited incursion looks ever more like unlimited invasion in scope and scale.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe that their limited incursion is actually an unlimited invasion. Shocking.
Not only the Lebanese getting out, another...
You are severely underestimating the idiocy of the general American populace. No, man, I'm just looking at the American government as a capitalist institution, a capitalist instrument that obviously benefits, especially key sectors benefit from permanent death and destruction in the Middle East, but only to a certain degree. Once oil refineries catch on fucking fire, Nobody benefits from that. The entire economy, the entire global economy runs on the petrodollar. It collapses everything. Okay. It's kind of like the Trump equation. Okay. A lot of business owners like Donald Trump, but a lot of business owners are also afraid of Donald Trump. Why are they afraid of Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump spells instability. Too much instability, like a certain amount of instability and deregulation and everything else is great, right? It's great for businesses. But too much of that can also spell trouble because the market needs stability. Okay? The market benefits from a certain level of chaos, but there also needs to be some level of stability. Too much volatility is not good. This sums it up pretty well. Is school illegal in the US? The answer is yes. Now, Israel is going to retaliate to Iran. Israel has said they're going to retaliate to Iran in a decapitating strike against the Iranian leadership. Now, if they did that, that would be devastating. That would be devastating for the region. Israel also has said they would retaliate against Iranian nuclear plants that are a part of their energy grid or Iranian oil refineries. Iran has said if Israel retaliates at all, we will respond in kind. If Israel specifically retaliates against their energy grid, they will respond in kind. If Israel retaliates against their oil refineries, they will light the entire region's oil refineries on fire. Okay? It is what I'm talking about when I say mutually assured destruction. That's it. That basically is at that point, it's just like complete collapse of the global
British
marketplace.
evacuation flight, the last scheduled to leave Beirut tomorrow, along with a host of other countries doing this in recent days. All remaining foreigners advised to contact their embassies.
Yeah, I suspect that the reason why it's taken so long for the Israeli response is because they are, I think, worried about the actual repercussions, the actual consequences. For the record, what can Iran hit in Israel though? The SodaStream factory? No, there's plenty of things that they can hit inside of Israel. It's more so if they choose to now strike more civilian targets. Are refineries really any more vulnerable than Tel Aviv? Dog, understand that no government actually cares about like their own civilians. Okay, no state actor is like all that concerned about their civilians. They do care about one thing and one thing only, and that is making sure that oil refineries don't all collectively catch on fire that would destroy the global economy. Okay, overnight. How is Iran? Oh, this is a good reporting on how hitting oil refineries will affect the world economy.
Iran attacked Israel on Tuesday night with about 200 missiles. They managed to hit a few military bases and the Mossad headquarters. There were no Israeli casualties. One Palestinian died. But that doesn't mean that all is forgiven and forgotten.
First
Take
pose.
it from Benjamin Netanyahu.
איראן עשתה הערב טעות גדולה.
Because
Okay,
Israel
okay.
is figuring out what to strike, where to strike. There are a number of potential targets: nuclear, oil, military facilities in Iran. Let's look at them one by one. First, there's Iran's nuclear program. Now, Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. It was work in progress. But officially, Tehran stopped developing nukes in the year 2003, or rather, they paused their efforts. That's what they say. But they still have nuclear facilities all over the country, as you can see on this map. Iran can make weapons-grade nuclear material. It can enrich uranium at some of these sites, and these facilities are in use, despite the nuclear pause. Tehran hasn't gone all the way yet, but it keeps nuclear material production on the precipice, so that if anything major happens, it can rapidly complete a nuclear weapon or two. All of Iran's enemies know this. Israel knows it, the US knows it, and everyone else does.
Yeah, I don't know about this, but when is she going to talk about the mutually assured destruction of? Is this Iranian TV? No, dog. Is like a right-wing Indian newspaper.
And I think there's things we'll be discussing.
Yeah, is India's Fox News, right?
The Israelis, what they're going to do, but all seven of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
She's the Dana Bush of India. Dana Bush.
Some of Iran's nuclear sites are protected deep underground. It would be almost impossible to blow them up. So if Israel manages to blow up one nuclear facility, Iran can ramp up production at another and develop a working nuclear bomb in a matter of days.
Okay, this part is the least significant part in this story. This is the least significant part of the story, okay? especially because, like, who cares if they have a nuke or not? I don't give a okay, because with the current conventional means that they have at their disposal, they can still blow up oil refineries. Are they going to talk about that or not?
That is why Joe Biden doesn't want Israel to go after Iran's nuclear sites, because that is an all or nothing gamble. If even one site is still functional, then Iran will become the world's next nuclear power. That is why Israel probably won't target Iran's nuclear facilities, at least not seriously. But they could conduct a symbolic strike at one of the smaller facilities, just to show Iran that Israel can attack their nuclear sites. And this was suggested.
Dog, we know Israel can attack their nuclear sites. Israel has the capacity to attack anywhere and everywhere around the planet, okay? It's just like, we know that already. I think that's an expectation. That's precisely the reason why the Iranian nuclear facilities are deep underground, specifically without outside of the reach of, like, conventional bunker buster bombs even, okay? Like, I think people know that. People understand that. People have geared their defenses against that, right? The real question is, why are you watching Garb Time? Someone linked it to me.
By a former Israeli prime minister. His name is Ehud Barak. He said this was a possibility, and it won't be a first. Israel did something similar in April. After Iran launched its first missile barrage in April this year, Israel responded by attacking an Iranian facility near the city of Isfahan. The attack was close to an Iranian nuclear site, even though it wasn't directly targeted.
The point I'm trying to make here is that it doesn't matter. Iran could be moments away from developing a nuclear weapon. Iran could have a nuclear weapon. That part is completely inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, because the current weapons that they do have, that we know they have, are capable of striking oil refineries, which would be, I would just go so far as say, almost as devastating as a nuke.
Israel basically let them off with a warning, a symbolic show. So a direct but limited attack at a nuclear plant could be an option, at least according to Israel's former prime minister, even though it is risky. But Netanyahu has other options too, including going back to the basics. Israel could just target military facilities, airfields, drone bases, missile silos. It could even go after production facilities, target Iran's drone and missile factories. It isn't flashy, it isn't extremely sophisticated, but it will send the message. And technically, this is the only thing allowed according to the standard rules of war. But Israel hasn't really been playing neatly. Netanyahu doesn't care about what he hits, as long as it does serious damage. And what will really hurt Iran is going after its pocket.
Would you support Israel striking Iran's oil facilities, sir?
We're in discussion of that. I think that would be a little, anyway.
That looks like another Biden blooper. He revealed that Israel is thinking about attacking Iran's oil facilities. Biden said discussions are ongoing. Is the U.S. discussing this internally? Are they holding discussions with Israel? Biden did not confirm, but it seems that attacks on Iranian oil are a possibility. So let's turn to the map again.
I want to point to something here, okay? The Modi supporting right-wing Indian news anchor lady saying a Biden blooper, okay, is once again a hilarious demonstration of the one thing that Biden ran against Trump on successfully, which was that he would restore the confidence in our international allies and cooperators as like and restore America's role as like the global hegemonic power that is the world police. And Biden has failed on that so spectacularly. Like, every single person that is inside of the periphery, inside of the sphere of influence of the United States of America, basically has recognized that this old man is getting dog walked by Benjamin Netanyahu, at least like in the way that it is interpreted. These events are interpreted by everyone else, where it is hilarious to watch the guy who was supposed to, you know, unlike Donald Trump, bring about stability to a chaotic reign. And now everyone sees him as an old man who's asleep at the wheel, who's getting dog walked by Benjamin Netanyahu, who does whatever the he wants. And when Biden says like, oh, this is a target this is a red line that we don't want Netanyahu to cross, Netanyahu crosses it anyway. They literally see Biden's threats to Benjamin Netanyahu, or Biden's red lines to Benjamin Netanyahu, as a promise. I mean, which is a correct interpretation, of course, a correct interpretation of events, but pretty funny overall to think that it's coming from the administration that was supposed to rebuild America's squandered reputation that Donald Trump destroyed at the global stage. Really cool and really funny to experience, in my opinion. He did it. He did NATO.
Iran is an oil-rich nation. It has drilling facilities, refineries, and export terminals everywhere. But the sites you're seeing are only the major ones. Israel's most obvious target would be the Kurg oil terminal. It's on an island in the Persian Gulf, removed from the Iranian mainland. But more importantly, it's Tehran's biggest export hub by far. The Kurg oil terminal handles more than 90% of Iran's exports. That's millions of barrels every day being converted into essential funds to keep Iran's regime afloat. If this export stops, Iran gets hammered economically. But this will also have a domino effect. Iran mostly sells oil to China.
This is the part.
If Tehran is forced to stop,
part.
Beijing will look elsewhere, causing prices to surge. And Joe Biden won't like that, because oil prices are a sensitive topic this close to US elections. So Biden may try and stop Netanyahu from hitting the Kurg oil terminal, but there are other oil facilities as well, like the Abadan refinery near Iran's border with Iraq. This is a domestic facility, so if Israel attacks it, global prices may still remain stable, and Netanyahu will have his revenge. It's cynical, because ordinary people will bear the brunt, but Israel may still consider it an option. There are other facilities too, of course, like the Kish and Keshm Islands near the Strait of Hormuz. These are smaller export hubs, so attacking them...
Hasan, your news coverage is garbo compared to this. I know, that's why I'm watching this. Regardless of this channel's like overarching views or whatever, this is the reason why the chatter sent it to me, because like it's making a cold and calculated assessment of events that I think is good.
Would just be symbolic. But will that be enough for Prime Minister Netanyahu? As you can see, there are a lot of factors for Israel to consider. And it will take action after thinking things through, hopefully. It's a tense situation because their next move has the potential to push West Asia over the edge and plunge the world into chaos. We are hoping it doesn't come to that. Global oil markets and global markets in general are feeling the pressure of all of this. Investors are rattled. There was a sell-off in the Indian stock markets. Both the Nifty and the Sensex were down.
Yeah, so just buckle up for that. All right, let's get back to Israel doing Israel shit in Lebanon, though.
And Alex joins us live now from Jerusalem. Alex, it's being reported that the Israeli military is preparing its attack on Iran, but it's a question of what and when.
Well, indeed it is. It's been reported, but nothing completely firm on that. Overnight, Joe Biden, the US president, again warned Israel against the high numbers of civilian casualties. Clearly, the White House consider those unacceptably high, not just in Gaza, but now, of course, in Lebanon as well. And over the last few days, there's not exactly been a war of words, but cool exchanges between the White House and the Israelis. A couple of days ago, Joe Biden pretty much telling Israel not to attack Iranian oil installations in reprisals for that Iranian missile attack this week into Israel. No response from Israel on that. Overnight, he said, well, if I was Israel, I wouldn't attack oil installations either. Again, nothing, no promises from Israel on that. It is...
Guys, when America invaded Iraq, they blew everything up, with one exception. The Iraqi Ministry of Energy, okay? That's it. That's all you need to know about how things work, okay? You don't up the bag, especially when your enemy has the capacity to do the same to you. This is the calculation. That's it. That's the calculation here for America, is that if Iran lights oil refineries on fire, you will destabilize the entire marketplace, the entirety of the global market. We can't have that. That's not good. And that's been a threat since day one, mind you, which is why I think it's so ridiculous that Biden hasn't packed up Benjamin Netanyahu already. I've been saying this for months.
Considered imminent. We watch. and we wait.
Well, here with me now is our foreign affairs correspondent, Secunda Kamani, who has just returned to Beirut from southern Lebanon.
Well, Chris, we've been hearing today further strikes, yet further strikes again in Beirut, again concentrated in the south of the city. It seems that Israel is deliberately trying to prevent rescue workers reaching the site where they targeted Hashim Safieddin, the man tipped to be Hezbollah's new leader. Still no official confirmation as he was killed, but reports suggest that he has been out of contact with the rest of Hezbollah ever since those very powerful strikes on Thursday night. Now, as you say, we drove up from the southern city of Tyre earlier today, passing by towns and villages that Israel has ordered to evacuate. Certainly, they all looked very empty to us, and that's why there's such mounting concern about the displacement crisis here.
And what's going on the border itself?
Well, a little hard to tell. The Israeli military say that they've killed 400 Hezbollah operatives since their ground incursion began. Hezbollah, for their part, say they've resisted once again an Israeli incursion attempt at around the village of Edessa. Certainly, we're not seeing Israeli forces sweep through southern Lebanon. Is that because they're concentrating their efforts just right on the border? Is it because they're encountering more pushback from Hezbollah than they anticipated? The Israeli military and military officials have been telling reporters in Israel that they want to try and wrap up the operation as soon as possible, potentially even within a number of weeks. One Western official I was speaking to today, though, expressing fears that we're just at the start of an open-ended conflict.
Thanks, Secunda. Well, in the last few minutes, the Israeli military spokesperson hasn't shed any light on when there will be strikes, saying their response to Iran will come at a time Israel decides best. Well, joining me live now from Tel Aviv is Miri Eisen, who's a retired colonel in the Israel Defense Forces. She worked with Prime Minister Ehud Olmert during the last Lebanon war in 2006 and is now a fellow at the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism. From the Israeli point of view, how is the invasion of southern Lebanon going? And does it seem credible to you that it could all be wrapped up within a matter of weeks?
It's funny how when I listen to the way you describe it as the invasion and then as it's going to go on, and Israel from the beginning had very specific targets in going into the small area of southern Lebanon that they chose to.
Yeah, no, total. It's just a small military operation. Shut the up calling it an invasion, dude. We've killed 1,600 people in bombing campaigns so far. It's a special military operation. It's a targeted special military operation. Duh. To denazify Lebanon.
To go in, and that was to both uncover, destroy, expose the Radwan forces, cache of weapons that are right on the other side of the border. The IDF spokesperson right now, part of what he put out is some of those tunnels that lead directly from Lebanese territory into Israel. They were waiting to do an October 7 type attack. That's what the IDF forces are trying to destroy.
Right, and so...
God, Monday is going to be unbearable. So why? It's October 7, dude. It'll mark the 1 year of Israel's genocide of Gaza and of Palestinians. Dude, if you think that the constant calls of October 7 are very annoying at this point, holy dude. Like, Israel's been pointing to October 7 to genocide the entirety of the Gazan population for the past 12 months. Oh my God. I'm sure they have a mass press blast ready to go.
Do you think it could be done in a matter of weeks?
Absolutely. I also think it's something where you go in and you go out, and that when we put the Hezbollah statements and what Hezbollah says on the same legitimacy level as what the IDF say at the end, with all of our flaws, and we have many, we are a Western democracy, and when we send out statements, certainly when it comes into what's going on, it's our soldiers who are fighting, it's our Israelis who are not inside their towns and villages, and we have been very clear on what's going on there. Hezbollah has attacked us every single day since October 8th. They joined in then. The Radwan forces are deployed in the south of Lebanon, and they have way more strength than what the Nukhba forces that did the horrific attack of October 7th ever had. So I look at what the IDF is doing. I most definitely see the locality of what they're doing. You come stand on the border. It's a kilometer from the border, a kilometer and a half. There are attacks further north because Hezbollah fighters are both trying to go north and they're trying to reinforce their own forces It's on the double way. And that would be, to me, part of why Israel is telling villagers to go north. It's about saving their lives. I have nothing good to say about war in general, but to try to help uninvolved civilians save their lives.
You're literally an IDF military person.
Now, let's turn to the impending attack on Iran. Obviously, there are many things being said by Western leaders about what Israel should or shouldn't attack. Joe Biden sort of suggesting it shouldn't be nuclear facilities, it shouldn't be oil installations. Donald Trump saying take out the nuclear installations first. I mean, how are these sorts of sentiments received in Israel? What do people in Israel want?
So we're on a Saturday night. We're at the end of a long Jewish holiday. It's our New Year. We've all been in the Jewish holiday from Wednesday evening, and this is after the Tuesday night attack direct from Iran. So we're sitting here in that sense, looking around and saying,
what will happen if they kill the Iranian leader is a question that someone asked. A lot of people here think that, the Iranian population across the board despises the leadership, which many do for good reason. Okay. And even if they do hate the Iranian leadership, they still also would absolutely treat an Israeli assassination of the Iranian leadership as a direct foreign military operation, which is what it is. Okay. And it would only reaffirm the support for whatever the Iranian leadership looks like after this decapitation. It would be an act of war. It would galvanize the most reactionary elements of Iranian society. It's the same principle behind the Ansar Allah administration. The greatest gift for the Houthis in Yemen was Israel's genocide of Gaza. If you want to look at it in like cold and calculated terms without like thinking about the morality of it all, if you were like a hater of the Houthis or Ansar Allah, which many people were inside of Yemen, right? They all basically unified under the Ansar Allah banner in the aftermath of Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. These are people who have experienced genocide themselves by Western forces. So when the leadership structure was like, we're going to do everything in our fucking power to resist American imperialism, resist Israeli imperialism, and we're going to shut down the Red Sea, okay? Obviously, when that happens, people are going to be like, yeah, no, these guys are doing the right thing. And beyond that, obviously, there's still plenty of like real popular support for the Ayatollah as well. I know this from the greatest comparison I can make here is Turkey. Recep Tayyip Erdogan became profoundly popular. He's always retained like at least 51% support throughout most of his reign. Now that is going away in the last couple of years due to hyperinflation in the country and whatnot. But in the aftermath of the coup that happened in Turkey, the failed coup that happened in Turkey, he was able to put together a referendum and change the constitution of the country, implement martial law, and plenty of people were on his side because all of a sudden, people were like, okay, this is an outside force that is like trying to change our affairs. This is not something that Americans can ever understand because at most, the only thing you experience is like Russia buying like $2 million worth of Facebook ads or something. You don't really see it. Whenever a much larger force interferes in the affairs of a foreign nation in a devastating manner, especially one that leads to like death of the civilian population, if that force already has like a decent amount of popularity within the population, more and more people end up subscribing to the leadership structure, even if they were previously in disagreement with said leadership, even if they were previously fighting against the leadership. Does that make sense? I guess you could see that with like George W. Bush post 9/11. So to answer your question, if Israel was to successfully kill like a bunch of the Iranian leadership structure, there would definitely be a point of chaos. There would definitely be chaos immediately, because there's plenty of people that are genuinely and understandably resentful towards the current leadership in Iran. They would probably put down those protests in unimaginably violent ways, and then they would move forward with their destruction campaign against Israel.
We are in a multi-front war, but we've been there, sir, for many, many months, almost from October 7th. The Yemen Houthis joined in. The Iraqi Shiites have fired at us. The Shiites in Syria, let alone Hezbollah from day one, Hamas, and of course, Iran. So when we talk about the response, it's understanding that we are in a multi-front war, but the one that's behind all of the weaponry, the UAVs, the suicide drones, the ICBMs, the cruise missiles, all of those come from the Islamic regime of Iran. So I think we all expect an attack. We don't say not. The Islamic regime of Iran, Khamenei, this Friday stood and both praised the October 7th attack of Hamas. And when we talk about the different why...
Oh, I can't believe they did that. That's crazy.
They're all in it together. What they all, I want to say, have in common, to me it's such a horrible thing, have in common is that they want to destroy, annihilate the state of Israel, and they physically are trying to do so. So I do expect a response. Israelis do expect a response, but I have no idea what that would be.
Miri Eisen, thank you very much. Well, earlier I spoke to the Shadow Security Minister, Tom Tugendhat, in the UK, one of the 4 remaining Conservative leadership contenders who worked here in Beirut for a while before joining the army and serving in both Afghanistan and Iraq. I asked him, with Israel warning that its counterattack on Iran is imminent, what should Britain's message to Israel be?
Well, look, we need to be offering leadership in the region, and that's why we need to be asking British citizens to leave as soon as possible and offering leadership in the region to make sure that Israel's response is proportionate and targeted.
What does proportionate and targeted mean? Does that mean avoiding the nuclear sites, avoiding the oil installation?
Bro, they're so Americucked. Like, that's a carbon copy. Dude, England is not a real country, bro. I'm sorry. The most Americucked nation, holy dude. Yes, we must listen to reason, which is why we are trying to get our citizens away from the line of fire. Fire coming from Israel, our ally that we're giving weapons to. That's right. This is what good leadership looks like. Very nice.
Well, what it means is making sure that they're targeting those areas that enable Iran to conduct this violent aggression against Israel and actually against other countries in the region. I mean, let's not forget that Iran hasn't just brought or tried to bring death to Israel. They have actually, through Lebanese Hezbollah, through their proxies in Bashar al-Assad.
I just don't get it. Why didn't they? This streamer isn't very smart. No good takes, just unintelligent remarks. Buckle in, chatter. Here's one intelligent take for you. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and you should probably subscribe right now for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account to avoid the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. Maybe if you're lucky, you can get gifted a sub as well. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Also, follow up to that, I would love for you to specifically point out exactly what you disagree with instead of saying this streamer isn't very smart, no good takes, just unintelligent remarks. That would be great. I would love to have a productive dialogue with you, my friend.
Assad's government in Syria and Iraq, they have murdered quite literally hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of Sunni Muslims across the region.
So it is in British interest that this war does not grow and become a full-scale regional conflict.
That's absolutely right. It is in our interest to make sure that this is as controlled, as proportionate as possible. But let's be clear, the Israeli government has the right to protect its citizens. The Jordanian government has the right to protect its citizens. And others have the right to take action against these non-state actors. Look, the Lebanese armed forces moved quickly in the last few days to disarm and expel Lebanese Hezbollah from various areas, including areas like the airport, where they have formerly had control.
Of course, all of this goes back to Gaza. Should Britain be more vocal in expressing its concern over alleged war crimes in Gaza?
Britain should be doing everything that we can to protect and support the Palestinian people. And one of the things that we need to be doing is pushing for the two-state solution. Look, all of this relies on the respect of
It's so cool that every single mouthpiece of like the American state or Western states is repeating the same. Yeah. Trying to divide Muslims, by the way, Shia and Sunni. This is the latest instruction from Hasbara. It doesn't, no Muslim gives it like straight up. I don't even think the Saudis care that much. Like at this point, outside of like, you know, people in positions of power, and even then, like the pro-Israel sentiment is like diminishing. No one cares. First of all, Hamas is Sunni. They are at the heart of this. Palestinians are Sunni. Nobody gives a. Only Westerners like talk about it on these terms. No one cares. Chatters, please stop. But the Shia and Sunni are already divided, not united. Okay? No, it is. There is no like. I wouldn't say that there is like a monolithic attitude towards anything in the entirety of the Muslim world, which spans across multiple continents and is, you know, billions of people. But even in the region, it's like the Houthis are a great example. They're Shia. El Hasan take. Okay. Like a lot of old traditionals give it about the Sunni and Shia. No, dude. The Houthis are Shia and literally one of the most popular groups in the entire region now. It does not fucking matter. When it comes to Israel, it does not matter.
Of course, the Israeli community, but also the Palestinian community. But what Hamas did in Gaza was utterly criminal. It was utterly vile. And I don't just mean on October the 7th, a year ago, almost a year ago today, but actually what they did over the months and years before that. Hamas murdered many Palestinians to take control of Gaza.
Just finally, I mean, as you know, as these wars grow and go on, there is a tendency among.
Dude, what is your takeaway from this? If not, only Israel gets to murder Palestinians, no one else. Angloid animal is right. Like this is his response to the Israeli war crimes, is that, well, Hamas has killed Palestinians too. Are you complaining that Hamas is kill stealing? Like, what's wrong with you?
A lot of people back home to look away and to say, look, this is the Middle East. It's the Middle East doing what the Middle East does. What is your message to people at home about why this matters to them?
I mean, this kind of attitude was, I guess, like really silly if you were knowledgeable on the matter even after October 7, but like plenty of people weren't knowledgeable after October 7, so like they kind of got duped by this kind of sentiment. But like it's been 12 months, dude. 12 months of straight up hell. 12 months of death and destruction. Like I don't think anybody believes that at this point. Oh, Israel is trying to liberate Palestinians from Hamas. Like, get the out of here, dude. If you still believe that at this point, you don't care. Like, you just, like, I don't think anyone that advances that argument is advancing it with sincerity. That's it.
Well, look, Krishnan, I started my career as a journalist in Beirut. I was a journalist there from 97 to 99, and I was covering various elements of the wars in the south of Lebanon. And one of the things that struck me then and still strikes me today is that it's not foreign. It's not that far away. The reality is that the energy price spikes that happen when there's conflict in the Middle East affect us at home. And when we see rises in non-state actors like Lebanese Hezbollah, we see very often the threat of terrorism in the United Kingdom increase. And I can tell you as Security Minister that we were extremely conscious of the cooperation that we needed with our partners in the Middle East in order to keep the British people safe. So I'm afraid we may wish it away, but the reality is that we are fundamentally connected, and we need to be leading in the conversations, and the security conversations in particular, to keep ourselves safe. And that's exactly what the UK's position should be, because we should be standing with our allies and stopping these terror groups from getting any more oxygen or power or support from vile dictatorships like the Iranian regime that they've had for 40 years.
Of course, he's admitting that the only thing he cares about is like low oil prices. I respect the honesty. It's good. What is this? Al Jazeera breaking? Urgent. Israeli Broadcasting Authority. About a quarter of Israelis said they thought about leaving the country during the past year. Good. Strikes in Beirut suburbs now. Like, the thing is, this is good because this completely like diminishes the Zionist project. That's it. If you don't have enough people to build additional settlements, you no longer can do a Zionist project. You don't have, like, it don't matter how many Russians you give Israeli citizenship to. Only the most hardcore will remain. Yeah, I know. The most hardcore also don't know how to read, dog. It's fine. Israel is bouldering towards becoming the rabid ultra-nationalist, ultra-Zionist, the ultra-Orthodox state that it was. It has been able to successfully make it seem like it's an outside element. But once everyone is the Hawk to a Rastafari and inbred dudes that you see, people are going to be like, yeah, I don't think this is tenable. I don't think this is manageable. We should probably not align with them in the same way. It destroys their economy. This is why academic divestment matters, okay? Academic boycotts, academic divestments, like they play a massive role in the soft power capabilities of Israel. That soft power pays dividends back to Israel. When you're wondering, like, why are there so many people who are just so unconditionally pro-Israel in American media or in all of these institutions? Like, why are there so many people? It's because Israel for years and years and years has created this ecosystem where they have a lot of the pro-Israeli sentiment baked into these institutions. When you literally sever that tie, all of a sudden, it's much easier for people to look at a bunch of inbred ultra-Orthodox dudes trying to run over the Lebanese border to go and build a settlement and getting quick scoped by some Hezbollah dude. When that becomes the entirety of the Israeli nation state, it's impossible for them to maintain this posture that they're like, you know, simultaneously a Western-facing nation that is directly trying to fight back against the barbarism of Islam. They are susceptible to brain drain just like any other country is.